So now that you have some data, maybe you did some interviews or you took some field notes and you want to start analyzing it. So how do you do that? It's a little different than quantitative data, which is usually a spreadsheet of numbers, and you can use statistical software to run statistical analyses. With qualitative data, you do a process called coding. Coding is simply when you label qualitative data to try and identify patterns and themes in that data. You're just putting little key terms on different segments of speech, or it could be images or video clips or things, but let's assume we're talking about interview transcripts. As you read through it, you find little themes, you highlight that portion of text, and you affix labels to it, and you go through that. And this is very helpful if you have, say, hundreds of pages of interview transcript. You can't remember everything that you covered in those, but by labeling it, usually there's software involved in this, you can then go back and pull out everything with a certain label and see what all the respondents said about that topic, or switch to another topic and see what everyone said on that topic. So why does it matter? It helps organize large amounts of text into manageable insights. It also helps identify recurring ideas. You can see how often certain things are coming back up, emotions, concepts, and it helps support theory development in qualitative research. Literally, the process I'm going to explain here is rooted in what we call grounded theory, which is a method of interpreting data. You go out there, you collect your data, and then you code it in this 3-step process, ultimately to create new theory. So it's an inductive approach. Start with the data, end with a theory, rather than classic scientific method where you start with a hypothesis based on theory, then you look at data to test that, which is more common in quantitative. Let's assume we're coding interviews with job seekers to analyze common concerns about employment. So here's the 3-stage coding process, inspired by grounded theory, but you don't have to end with a single theory like in grounded theory. You can end with a set of themes. First is open coding. Open coding, axial coding, and then thematic coding. Start with open coding. You're breaking down the data. The first step is where data is fragmented into small ideas. So as you read through your interview transcripts, you're labeling as many ideas as you see, tagging as much as you can. So you'll come up with a long list of codes, because anything that seems like a separate idea, you give it a code. You read through the text and you assign initial labels or codes. For example, you read a snippet that says someone's feeling lost after college. Maybe you tag that as career uncertainty. You just put a label on it. And once you have that big list of all of these labels, all these codes, now we need to start organizing it a bit. So that's phase 2, axial coding, which is when you're grouping it into categories. You want to find relationships between codes to create broader categories. You're looking for connections between themes. Maybe you have the codes, like I mentioned before, career uncertainty, and then you have another code, job search stress. And you realize, both of those will fit under a parent code of employment anxiety or something like that. So if there's some codes that maybe only was used once or twice and it's not going to be a dominant theme, you can already tell. You could delete it if you want, if it's not connected to any bigger theme. You might find codes that are really similar and kind of edit the code so that they're 2 instances of the same code. But you're also beginning to create parent and child codes, creating categories to start clustering or grouping some of these codes in. And then once you've done that, you move to thematic coding. This is where you're finalizing your key themes. So you've got these little clusters of parent and child codes. And now you want to figure out what are the most dominant themes. So it's an even further level of organizing these codes. It's the final step where these themes are refined and named. For example, you have a theme of employment anxiety and another one for financial stress. And now we merge these under a bigger idea of navigating career challenges, say. And then you're going to write about, when you write the paper, navigating career challenges, the key themes within that are number 1, employment anxiety. That's what came up most. And second was financial stressors. And third was something else. It allows you to rank or prioritize the dominant themes within the data. So you start with that big open coding list of fragmented ideas, each with its own label or code. Then you begin to group them in axial coding, make some organizing, do some cleaning, and then move them into a final set of most common, most dominant themes down to some of your less common or less dominant themes. Now, there are a few other alternative coding methods. You could still use the 3-stage process I talked about, but rather than just putting little summary tags, you could do what's called in vivo coding, which stresses using participants' exact words. So if, say, somebody says, oh, I'm worried about getting hired at a big company because I don't want to just be another cog in the wheel. Instead of some summary tag like career anxieties or good fit or something, you would use their words, like not just another cog. Put that in there. It allows you to capture the voice of the participants. It can be helpful if you're studying a culture and you really want to use the language they're using, particular phrases or jargon. Then there's emotion coding. This is where you're really hunting for feeling words. Maybe it's fear of unemployment or excitement about applying to new jobs. Then there's process coding. This is where you're really focusing on actions or behaviors. Somebody's refining their resume or sending out job applications. So it's these action words. And that's particularly helpful if your study is on social behavior, like a process, a set of actions. I would like to make a note about AI and how it can really assist in the coding process. Tools like ChatGPT, and there's other ones out there, they're really great at suggesting initial codes. You can upload a transcript or two, ask it to give you a list of open code list. It'll give you a bunch of ideas of codes. You can also ask it to summarize data. Maybe you have that huge list of codes and you want help with the axial coding. Ask it how it might suggest potential groupings of some of those codes. It can help highlight patterns. But the main thing I would emphasize is that it cannot replace human interpretation and depth of knowing your transcripts, reading through them over and over again, being aware of what your respondents are saying. Ultimately, I think AI is a great assistant in speeding up or helping streamline or brainstorming in some of the phases of the process. But don't try to use AI to do all of the coding. Don't just upload all your transcripts and ask it what the dominant themes are without having put some reflection yourself into reading through them and coding them and organizing them into themes. Use it as a brainstorming tool. Use it to give you ideas. Use it as an assistant.